Hi everyone, Emily B here, also known as Grandma B, and I am your resident home baker turned dessert maker at a restaurant, trying to make some fun videos for all of us who don't have professional training but just love to bake and make people smile. Today is going to be the quickest video ever. I am making something that I've never made before in preparation for some super exciting news that I'll share hopefully in my next video, which should hopefully be in about a week or so. But I'll be making with some dear friends one of my new favorite recipes out of Joanna Gaines' third cookbook from Magnolia Table. But there's an ingredient in it that I don't normally use, and it's cake batter extract. So I know this might be pretty common for some people, but it's not something that I've just ever used before. I mean, of course I use vanilla all the time and maybe sometimes almond. I try to use like fresh lemon juice, those kinds of things, whenever possible. But I thought cake batter extract kind of interesting. And it just so happened I had some cake mix in my cupboard because a secret, my personal, even though I'm a scratch baker, my personal favorite cake that I have for my own birthday every year is a box cake with canned chocolate frosting. So I love to make scratch everything, and of course I love other people's scratch cakes quite a bit, but for some reason, and I think it just reminds me of my own childhood, because that was a pretty common thing to make, a box cake for someone's birthday. Anyway, I digress. So I found a recipe online on making your own cake batter extract if you don't have any, because of course I didn't have any, and it never occurred to me to get some. I don't know, maybe I will, I don't know. But I like the idea of making my own. So super simple recipe. I have about a tablespoon of oil in this little bowl, vegetable oil, canola oil, like neutral oil. And then I'm gonna add a tablespoon of vanilla extract, which is interesting because of course I'll use more vanilla extract in the actual recipe itself, which will be in a future video. And then lastly, a teaspoon of cake mix. And I guess, according to the World Wide Web, the homemade cake batter extract is oftentimes just called Duncan Hines cake mix extract. I don't know. Anyway, it was new to me. So we're just gonna stir it up really good. I don't have a whisk that's tiny enough. I'd rather have it be a little bit smaller. The online recipes actually called for 3/4 of a teaspoon of cake mix, but I really want to get some cake mix flavor into this treat that I'll be making. So I put in a full teaspoon with the tablespoon of oil and tablespoon of vanilla. I'm stirring it together really well, and then I am going to go ahead and let it sit for a bit, and probably at least overnight, and then I will use it in the recipe that I'm going to make from the Magnolia Table Volume 3 cookbook with some friends. So I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Okay, so I just made cake batter extract, and that was going to be the only topic of the video, but I went back to my recipe and realized there was another ingredient I don't happen to have in the cupboard, and that is cake flour. If you don't often keep cake flour in your cupboard, I try to keep what I use the most because I don't like things to go bad and have to waste it. So I make my own cake flour quite a bit, and I learned how to do it from one of my favorite bakers, which is Sally's Baking Addiction. So her recipes and tips and substitutes on her website are fantastic. So she has a cake flour substitute that I use all the time, and it's essentially a little bit less than a cup of regular all-purpose flour plus cornstarch. So, and we sift it and mix it all together, and then voila, cake flour. So I always sift and then measure. I don't know, I think there's probably different thoughts about it, but I like my flour to be aerated a fair amount. I just feel like it helps with the texture of things that I'm baking when I don't want it to be super dense. I have no idea if that's based in science. It's just what I do. because remember, I'm a home baker. And I weigh everything to make sure that I'm as accurate as possible. And like I had said, I sift and then measure. So I'm gonna start with 110 grams of all-purpose flour. So I usually use as a full cup about 125 grams, and I know there's a little bit of a difference of opinion on exactly how many grams, but that just tends to be what seems to work well for me. So I have got, 109, I need 110. I got 110 grams, and I always move the ingredients around in the bowl and remeasure because it can adjust a little bit. And then we're gonna do 16 grams of cornstarch, which is about 2 tablespoons. And it's okay just to use your measuring spoons. That's what I did for ages and ages until someone finally just gave me a scale so I could get a little more accurate. Okay, 16 grams. I'll put that in here, and then now I'm gonna go ahead and whisk this, and of course I forgot to bring my whisk over here. And then I probably will sift it again just to get everything as light and fluffy. So I'll be right back. Little whisk, whisk all this together, because again, the idea of cake flour is it gets just a finer texture, a little more aerated, not quite so heavy. I'm gonna sift it a bit. You can do it this way, sift it into another bowl. And I would sift it into another bowl, but I didn't bring one over. And sometimes I don't like to make the extra dishes because I get a little lazy with washing dishes. But here we go, ta-da, cake flour. And so you can keep this in the cupboard as well for future use. It's usually gonna end up being a little bit more than a cup, just because it'll be pretty close to a cup, I guess, total that you'll have. So you can adjust the recipe as needed. And again, you can take a look at Sally's Baking Addiction website for her precise notes and tips, but 110 grams of all-purpose flour plus 16 grams of cornstarch, which is about 2 tablespoons, and whisk, sift, whatever, mix it all together really well, and there you go.